Hello everybody. Well, I want to just thank Dee for giving me the opportunity to tell my story because I wasn't able to talk the story. I was felt it, dreamt it, and your radio show inspired me to realise that my shame and my pain was somebody else's gain. And through you, Dee Bailey, and the Really Simple Dee show, I do want to thank you all for being here to talk to you women, and I hope this part of my journey of my life will inspire you to change your life. So a bit about me. I'm Jacquie Burgwin Turner, I'm 57 years old. I have 7 amazing children, I've fostered over 34. With over 33 years experience, I've worked in a variety of mental health fields, youth justice, domestic violence, but I'm also working with people and their lives. It's my passion. My journey starts at 6 years old is my challenge. The day that my mum took me to school, and just passing that, she took us to school, me and my brother, but she never came back for us. That journey took me to 7, when I had an amazing, wicked stepmother that took me a life full of challenges that created this person that I want to share this journey with today. So from there, I inspired to be a typist, a secretary, a licensee, foster many children, do all the things that everybody said I couldn't do. Black secretary, I was one. Black licensee, I was one. Front desk extra star, I was one. Because we can do anything we want to do. Right. So that took me to here, and I thought, this is a journey you want to, and it might change you. So I wrote a bit about my journey, because Dee will know, my life's a long history of challenges and steps and ups and downs. And they said I was bipolar. Well, I never. I just travelled many universities, a different way from everybody else. Take you down the trip down memory lane. I woke up, my emotions was changing more frequent than the weather. Negative thoughts echoing round my head, bouncing round like a ping pong ball. And I hadn't even got out of the bed. Dreading, connecting to the floor, all I knew was, I just couldn't do this no more. My whole life had been tapped by a virus worse than the Spanish flu, and here I was without a clue, know what to do. I found myself back in that deep, dark place. A place where I didn't want to be. I too was faced with change. Yes, the world had hijacked me. So as a successful career woman today, I was trapped in that place, and all I want to say is depression. It came up and sneaked on me. It was like a snake. It had wrapped itself around me. Not knowing you're depressed was how it was supposed to be. Then all of a sudden, you wake up feeling trapped in sadness, like a block of ice melting down the wall. The best way I can explain my life, it was like camouflage, blending with everybody else, loving everybody else, caring for everybody else, not recognising myself. Here I was living a double life, because now it became my identical twin. It's when you realise that all your days are the same, dreary, sad, nothing changes. But as a mental health profession, depression is such a negative word. I refuse to relate that terminology to my life. And then I realised I was sinking in that big, big hole, and I was, yes, back in that place, 20 years later where I didn't want to be. But before I was this Jacquie Turner, before I was this person, before I was this big one place, I was Jacquie, the Jacquie that had to turn her crawl into a stand, and her stand into a walk, and her walk into a run, and her run into a jump. That's right, the Jacquie that was broken, shattered like barks in the sound, music going round and round. Today, through spirituality, meditation, music, self-love, I found me.
In Ivory Coast, or Côte d'Ivoire, located between Ghana on the right and Liberia on the left, I describe its location on maps as under the belly of the African continent. A beautiful little baby girl was born. Her parents named her Victoria. The date, 2nd of November, 1991. In the spring of 1999, when Victoria, now called Anna, was 7 and arrived in London with her aunt, who was to raise her on behalf of her parents, who believed that the child would have a good life in England. Later in the summer of that same year, someone had a safeguarding concern about Victoria, and she was examined in hospital. And just over a week later, yet again, due to deception, a definite lack of professional curiosity, Victoria was pronounced dead towards the end of February 2000. Her aunt and her aunt's partner were both convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment for her murder. In December 1960, with Elvis Presley's vibrato-laden "It's Now or Never" at #1 in the music charts, a beautiful baby girl was born to a teenage mother in the Caribbean. This mother, being destitute, felt she had no choice but to send her toddler to her aunt in England to raise. I describe her as a parcel child. In a loveless and what seemed like a perpetually dark house, there were no demonstrations of affection, or lap to sit in, or caregiver reassurances. For 16 years, she lived in fear of her guardian, who she called Mum. She was criticised for having too much melanin and too many kinks in her hair. There were physical punishments for minor things, like accidentally dropping something or not hand-washing something well enough. She was an aloof child and eventually a teenager who kept her emotions in check and had unasked questions for everything. The child is me. And I suffered childhood trauma. Adoption has been in existence for millennia. In the Louvre Museum in Paris, there is a stele, a stone object, called the Code of Hammurabi, a Babylonian king. And that has a reference to adoption on it. And so does the Codex Justinianus, a Roman artifact. You may be wondering about the relevance of what I've just shared with you. Well, lockdown made me take a deep dive into my past, and I acknowledged for the first time at 60 that I am an adoptee. I was adopted. Moreover, I have never spoken about it until relatively recently. It raised questions about kinship care or fosterage in relation to adoption as we know it. Traditional adoption would be parents want a child needs parents, and so a match is made. Or, through marriage, a partner decides to adopt his spouse's child. I describe what happened to me as an unconventional adoption, when names are changed and there are no arrangements in place for reconciliation between parent and child. I was none the wiser until the age of 18, then more trauma. There are questions around safeguarding. Back then, there was no professional curiosity about where I had appeared from and what was my real identity. There was no formal paperwork or checks. Note well that Victoria had become Anna when she came from the Ivory Coast, and she didn't speak English. I've contacted British Airways, because I'm a history buff, I love history, to find out whether they have any passenger data from back in the 60s. Because then British Airways used to be BOAC. Yes? British Overseas Airways Corporation. Is that right? Yes. Anyone else? Travel on BOAC to come? Yeah, I can see a hand there. Right, so there's me, at 2 years of age, put on the plane in the care of the airline. Can you imagine putting a 2-year-old, the care of the airline, on a plane to come to England for her aunt to raise? Well, there was no data. They say they don't keep data going back that far. I'm aware that exploring and owning our negative experiences can be painful. And there are questions around how many of us are there today in similar circumstances. I have the issue of secrecy to navigate too. How have we been affected, and to what extent? How have we, the unconventionally adopted, fared? How have we navigated life so far with the knowledge of what's happened? Then once everything is laid bare, how do we deal with yesterday? How do we deal with today? How do we deal with tomorrow? There is no dedicated adoption counsellor in the UK. Adoption UK is attempting to address that. So there's a niche for any would-be counsellors in here. We need adoption-specific counselling, right? Victoria would have been 31 this November, had she lived. What kind of woman would she have been? Who knows? She might have been here today. I am resilient, self-aware, fun-loving, smart, and talented, despite my unconventional adoption, and I am here. I'd like to leave you with, whatever your childhood, whatever cards you were dealt back then, the pain, the trauma, we need to own it, we need to unpick it, we need to resolve it as best we can, and we need professional help to do that. Don't cover it up. It took me 60 years to realize and to name something that happened to me. All right? If you'd like to speak to me afterwards, I'm available. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Is it called Love is Mysterious?
It's called Vision of Love.
Vision of Love. Love is mysterious. It's a word with many meanings that cannot be seen but can be expressed in many different ways. Once we are born, we are destined to die, but through the space in between, we all experience some sort of love. I have always believed it is better to have loved and lost than to have never have loved at all. However, since losing my first love, my world, my mother, this is a statement I am struggling to deal with and believe. I have experienced intense feelings throughout my life, and I love way too much. This scares me as humans are inconsistent and we don't last forever. I can cope with the idea of dying, but I am constantly in fear of me losing people in my life. This is a fear I have carried with me since I was a child. In my mind, I needed to die before my mother, so suicide became an obsession of mine. Now my mother is gone, I feel I should have tried harder to die first. I have never felt pain like this so intensely. My heart is broken and I will never be entirely healed. For me, I'd rather not love again than to have to go through the same heartbreak over and over again. For some, love can be a beautiful thing, word or feeling, but it can also be torturous for many others. Vision of Love.
But yeah, so I'm dedicating this to my grandma, and also just basically International Women's Day means a lot to me, and to even be standing in front of you guys, some of you know, but a lot of you won't know, is a big thing for me. Like, I've never shared my story in person. I shared for the first time last year on International Women's Day online, and it changed my life, literally. It gave me the power. I took control of my story, shared things I never, ever thought I was going to share with anybody, and by doing that, I'm here today. I'm in the book, I'm a co-author, I'm a poet, I was on stage last week acting. So basically, yeah, it's just snowboard. I do my own events, I co-host for other events, the Sing It Together show every Tuesday, 12 o'clock, don't forget, make sure you're local. And then basically, yeah, life on a lockdown, these guys keep me busy. I don't get paid, so. Gotcha. But yeah, so well, oh. Yeah, I'm here. So basically, that's what I'm planning around because I don't know what I'm going to say, and I didn't want to, stress myself too much because life's stressful enough at the minute. But I've got paparazzi. Oh, listen, I was ready.
You're on video.
Oh, okay. So yeah, basically, yeah, I just wanted to big up the International Women's Day because being here, being inspired and being able to speak on the same platform as all these inspiring ladies is a blessing and something that I never thought I'd be doing. So once again, yeah, just big up this platform and everybody in the room. Give yourself a round of applause. I've got a poem I'm going to read. I don't know how long I've been speaking for, but
You do. You do know.
I said 12 minutes, isn't it?
10.
12.
Hurry up.
13. I tried. Okay. So yeah, this is for my grandma, who passed away recently, and she's part of this reason why I'm here. She's given me strength. She's been the strongest woman I ever knew in my life, and yeah. So as I said as well, I just spoke on my poetry now, thanks to being on the International Women's Day and like giving the courage and the strength through sharing and being inspired by all you guys. So yeah, this poem is called New World, and it's for grandma. The glow that once glistened from the stars in a dark sky has been stolen from the night time. The moon lost its shape the day you left, no longer seen in the darkness. The mountains don't echo back my cries anymore. The waves just hit an empty shore. Time hasn't moved since that day. The hourglass serves no purpose. The world's broken. All them years back, or was it a millennium forward? Seconds, minutes. The hands don't spin like they did. The stars drop from the sky, and I can't find my smile. I know you would light up the dark times, dropping lyrics of wisdom or jokes you didn't even realize. With just your beautiful smile alone, you lit up the world. You always put us first. Before your eyes met the morning sky, you prayed, thought of everybody, loved everyone. Now the birds have lost their wings, forgot how to sing sweet melodies. Nothing feels the same. I need some of your strength. You never broke, not even once. We never saw you. Behind closed doors, you must have fought demons we never knew. It hurts realizing what you must have been through. Lost so many of your siblings, mum and dad, at such a young age. I saw you sad at one time. It didn't make sense. You always carried on, a strong guy in these women. We were your reason. I don't have anyone, so how do I be like you? No one's looking at me with such love and pride, pure love in eyes, as we all did each and every time you caught our eyes. You did so much, a true role model, teaching lessons continually, holding our hearts still after you're gone, safe and secure in your hands. Each minute is too long. I'm praying to be up there with the big man. Bless me with some of your courage. I love you more than anything you ever knew, regardless of how much I told you. I'll always miss my person and our conversations. Just need to learn to breathe again. Remember that thing that I used to do, knowing you always believed in me and rooted for everything I did. I could have made you proud without even trying hard. Luckily you set my targets for a better human high. So I've always strived to be anything like you. Become even a tiny bit of the person you prayed I could be. I'd flourish like you always dreamed. This new world is a mystery. Seeing the globe with empty space, no land. Gone is the green, just blue. Oceans filled in my tears. The only thing that's clear, I miss my grandma. No one understands this pain and the loss of what we had. I can't wait to see you again. You wouldn't want me to be this sad, so I'm trying, just don't know how to. Don't no idea how you did it, always the strongest person we knew. So repping for you at International Women's Day 2022, sharing my Gmail. You always love being popular, so keep shining up there. I love you too. God bless grandma.
Yeah.